Hi everyone, my name is Madina and this is my favorite sensation and perception concept. So for this project, I chose color as my favorite concept for two main reasons. One, because I have a hobby of painting and creating art on canvases with pastels, acrylics, pencils, really anything. So I play around with colors whenever I can. And I personally love landscapes, nature, anything related to that because they really help me to calm down. For example, you see the pictures on the right, these nature sceneries, they're very calm, soothing, very serene. And reason number two is because colors have a big effect on my mood. For example, I've decorated my room in very cozy, warm tone colors like beige, orange, green, white, and brown because these colors really help me to unwind and relax. They really even help me fall asleep. So, what is color? Essentially, color is how our eyes and brains interpret different wavelengths of light. When light hits an object, that object absorbs some wavelengths and reflects others. When reflected, light is what hits our eyes and what our brains label as color. Your brain assigns a color label to certain wavelengths of light, so in a way, color is sort of a hallucination and a very useful and beautiful one at that. So each hue of color has a unique wavelength in the visible spectrum. For example, red has a larger wavelength than violet. So as you can see in our diagram here, violet is around 380 and usually goes to around 400 nanometers, which are short and energetic waves. And red is around 700 to 750 nanometers, which are longer and slower waves. Now, how do we see color? It all starts with the retina, which is the light-sensitive layer at the back of your eye. And inside the retina, there are two types of photoreceptor cells, which are the rods and the cones. Now, the rods help us see in low light environments because they're very sensitive to light. And they help to detect motions and shapes, but they don't detect color, and there's only one type of rod. And then there's cones, which detect color, and they work mainly in brighter environments. Now, we have three types of cones, each sensitive to a different part of the spectrum. The L cones respond better to long wavelengths, which are reds. M cones, which respond to medium wavelengths, which are greens, and S cones, which respond to short wavelengths, like blues. Now, if you look at the diagram, the picture here, you see the retina is located right here, and it is this yellow area at the back. Now, I want to go over why colors matter. Colors play a very powerful role in how we think, feel, and function every day. I believe that we are all affected by color in one way or another. For example, the color red, it tends to increase heart rate and blood pressure. It's very attention-grabbing and create a sense of urgency, which is why it's often associated with feelings of passion, danger, power, and love. And blue, however, is kind of the opposite. It tends to lower the pulse and reduce stress. And it tends to boost productivity and focus, which is why it's so common in office settings and hospitals. Blue is very calm and stable, and it's often associated with trust, peace, and responsibility. Moving on to yellow, yellow tends to stimulate mental activity and encourage communication and positivity. It's often associated with feelings of brightness, optimism, happiness, and creativity. However, when it comes to color, context also plays a role. For example, yellow can make people feel anxious or frustrated if it's too bright or overexposed. And blue can tend to evoke feelings of sadness or coldness in some cases. That's why context is also very important. Lastly, I want to go over how colors are all in your brain. Even though colors start with lights and cones and rods in the eyes, what we see as color is entirely created by the brain. Color perception depends on three things: lighting, For example, a white shirt under an orange light might end up looking yellow. Surrounding colors. For example, a gray square can look lighter or darker depending on the colors that surround it in the background. And your brain's assumption. Your brain is always guessing what the true color should be, and the greatest example that I could think of was this picture on the right. There is a huge debate that goes on about how some people believe this dress is blue and black, and there's people who say this dress is white and gold. So yeah, color is just this amazing thing that we perceive. So that is what I am going to end this presentation on. Thank you so much for watching my favorite thing about sensation and perception.